being an entrepreneur on your own and not having a co-founder or a partner, to me, just seems twice as hard as everything that we've done. When the pandemic hit, if you remember, like everybody just went to grocery stores and bought every single thing on the shelves. So everything that we had at Whole Foods ended up in somebody's freezer. Vietnam is an incredible place to do business. Like you go there and you have lunch at a restaurant and you're like, oh, these are our package designs that we work for. And like some guy runs away on a moped, comes back 5 minutes later. He's like this, 50 different samples of like exactly, you're like, where did you come from? We'll go into production tomorrow. We're like, what? One guy was making a delivery to Whole Foods and like some transient jumped in the car, and really quickly, all of a sudden I get a call from the police like, hey.
What's the latest trend? 1 minute you're taping your mouth shut. The next you're supposed to sip a nightly glass of wine or swear it off. Egg yolks are the heroes, then they're the villains. Peptides, weighted vest, creatine for women. The noise never ends. So how do we know what actually works? I am Juliet Hahn, and this is Don't Die Curious. In every episode, I sit down with doctors, innovators, and everyday legends to separate the facts from the hype and uncover what really sharpens the mind, strengthens the body, and fuels the spirit. Stay curious. One good question can change your life forever. Welcome back to Don't Die Curious, Season 1. I am here with actually someone I've known for a really long time, Chuck Casano. How are you?
Great. Very long time. Maybe 25 years.
Yeah, right? I think it's been, I mean, it's kind of, that just made me feel a little old, but I knew you. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time. So a little background, but I do want people to say they can go and follow Chuck on LinkedIn. And we're going to be talking about like regenerative food, which I'm really excited about. And then also Chuck's company is Pitaya, and I'm going to spell it Pitaya Foods. They can go there as well. You guys might be like, oh, wait, I know that. I've seen that in Whole Foods or all the other markets that you're in right now, because you have just blown up. Watching like really what you've done from the beginning and knowing you. I mean, as I said to you this summer, I was like, I wanted you on your next stop at some point because of what you've grown has been super impressive. And just even from how you farm your products to then create them and the whole entrepreneur kind of thing that I've watched. And then as we started kind of talking a little bit about this regenerative farming, I was like, oh, I know what I want you to be on. I want you to be on Don't Die Curious, because it's really about like, how can we live our best life and what is out there? Because there's so much noise out there. I mean, right before we started recording, we were talking about like the women in the weight vest and kind of laughing about that, all these trends that we're told we should be doing and like what is out there. So I wanted you kind of to break down a little bit of the noise of kind of the food market that you're seeing.
Sure. I mean, I think my stance is pretty clear. It's just eating real whole fruits and vegetables. And that's like 95% of what we sell, and avoiding ultra processed foods, right? And just looking at ingredient labels. Nothing we're doing, is that like groundbreaking, but we're sourcing hard to source exotic fruits, right? And so, I started in Nicaragua, ended up working for a nonprofit down there for a year, and kind of part of my aha moment was Nicaragua is the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And so I'd visit these farms and a lot of them couldn't afford pesticides. So I saw Nicaragua as this huge untapped resource of organic raw material. Didn't really know what it was, came back to New York, and, coconut water is exploding, acai is exploding. And I'm like, where's my red dragon fruit smoothie that I was eating in Nicaragua every day? And so went back on a fact-finding mission, realized all the fruit had been consumed. Nobody had been exporting it. And so put together a business plan, raised some money, and found a partner down in Nicaragua. And we started just exporting real fruit, right? And selling that to juice bars out of the back of our Prius in San Diego. And so the company has grown a lot. And so that's what we've been founded on in day one, and supporting our farmers. We started with 10 small family-owned farms. We've helped over 1,000 get USDA certified organic, where we process the fruit. We try and give jobs to single moms. This year, we'll create about 100 jobs for single moms down in Nicaragua. And so for the first 6-7 years of this company, that's all we were doing was selling red dragon fruit and just going from juice bar to juice bar. And the business grew, and it was we were comfortable, and we were selling a couple $1 million of fruit, and we thought the world was great. And then we realized like we had an opportunity to take what we learned in Nicaragua and apply that to supply chains all over the world. So then we started building an organic farm project in Vietnam and just help to convert farms from conventional farming to organic. And so what we did learn over this year is now we source about, we'll do like 500-600 truckloads of fruit from 8 or 9 different countries. And what we found was Nicaragua is super special, right? And like we couldn't replicate exactly what we're doing there, but what could we do in each one of these countries that we can do and what the farmers are willing to do and apply to these requirements and stuff like that. And so it was a long path to us finding regenerative farming, right? And so regenerative farming at its core is just taking care of the soil, right? Like all the microbiomes and microorganisms that live in the soil are like, there's a lot of similarities, if they're not identical, to the ones that are in your gut. So you're trapping those microorganisms within the plant. You're growing. So we started in Chile and Peru by identifying farmers who kind of had these practices going, and then we could help them get certified, and then we can do them as a certified organic program. And so it's been a great learning experience for us because you talk about some of the noise out there. When you look in a grocery store and you're looking at like all these beautiful organic berries and raspberries and blueberries and all that fun stuff, like it's just impossible to think that those are coming from like small little farms, right? These are huge commercial operations. And if you're smart, you're doing these operations, take blueberries, for example, in like Baja, Mexico, and you're using the cheapest land that you could possibly find. And so you can be organic without the plants being, in great soil. Like you can just, as long as you're not using chemicals, it's still organic, but you're like the sand and the soil is like dust, right? They're putting all these inputs in them to grow these plants, and they are chemical free. They are USDA organic, but you don't get that microorganism element. Right. And so that's what we're doing with the farms and regen and kind of in these countries.
And I have to say, since again, I said that and I love how you just broke all that down. And since I said that we've known each other forever, I also love that like you're so thoughtful in that, because I know, Chuck from like, obviously from family, but like party days and all these things that, we don't think about. But as we get older, these things are important. And what I love so much about what you're doing is also you're making it available and affordable to the masses. So it's not like you're just doing it where like, okay, I know in the beginning with the juice bars, and I love that, but obviously you think of juice bars, you think of a certain demographic, right? But you guys took it to that next level because you realized what is missing for so many people. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things. I mean, that's why I loved you even more after what Carrie would tell me these things. I'd be like, oh my God, go Chuck. I love this. I love this so much. But the fact like the single mom thing, I mean, it's like so thoughtful and just so sweet. Can you tell us kind of like where that came from as you were doing this journey on yourself? Because, you came from a different world. You came from a world where you didn't really need to think about these things, but what kind of took you down this path to really think about the masses and how you can make a difference in not just, one demographic?
Sure. Yeah. It was definitely a huge 360 for me. I was living in New York City in my 20s and having a great time and bartending, and went from selling booze to fruit, throwing big parties. But, when I was like 26, 27, I realized I wasn't going to be able to do this forever. And so I thought I wanted to get into finance, did an MBA over in Spain. And then when I graduated, I graduated in 2007 and was supposed to start at Bear Stearns when they went down, and that same team went to Lehman. And I was like, I was not going to be banking in New York City in 2007. And so I was lucky enough that a gal that I did my MBA with was in Nicaragua working for this nonprofit, and I applied for a fellowship grant, and I just wanted to step out of like my comfort zone and just do something totally different. And that was just like the start of, the roller coaster or the journey that I've been on. And I think it's always about stepping out of your comfort zone. And I did it even backing up going to Nicaragua. Like I did my MBA in Spain and always like traveling when I was younger and stuff like that. And I think that laid a like curious foundation for something that I was going to do later. And then the stories and the social missions kind of evolve based on need. Like the factory that we're processing the fruit down in Nicaragua, we thought it was a great idea. Like, hey, we're going to provide childcare for like these. We realized there were so many single moms in Nicaragua. It's a cultural thing. And their job opportunities are very limited. And so let's just try and create some job opportunities where they could come and bring their kids to the factories. Well, guess what? It's really not a good idea to have kids running around the factory while you're trying to produce fruit. So our hearts were in the right place, but our brains were not. And then that just evolved okay, let's just provide employment and try and help this demographic. And that was born just organically. And then, what we saw in Vietnam, Vietnam trying to work, can we build a school? It's just not going to happen. But what we can do is we can teach these farmers about organic farming and what this does and why the American consumer thinks this is so important. And then if you're going to pass these farms down to your kids, pass them down a farm that you can actually continue to farm for generations to come, because the way that the non-regenerative farming, this big commercial farming, you're stripping the land of all this soil, and there's only so many years left in the soil if you don't protect the soil. Back to the regen, which just led us to Chile and Peru and working with these farmers to get these practices down. And this land is it's so vibrant when you're out there compared to a commercial farm. It's incredible.
Well, and I think you said one thing that obviously the podcast is called Don't Die Curious. Some people in my world call me Curious George because I love learning about things and I love asking questions. I think the more curious we are, the better we are for ourselves, but the better that we can be for other people. So that's what I'm hearing. You basically were okay, I'm not going into this world because of 2007. If anyone is not familiar with 2007, Google it, because it wasn't a great time. I remember that for anyone. In New York City, I remember Dan and I being okay, we need to think, because if you lose your job, we're, pretty fucked. Let's think about this. He fortunately was not
you
one.
And millions of other people.
Right. Exactly. That's when, we were in the city and still out east. And it was well, let's just wait and see. Having our second baby also. So it was just an interesting time. But I think so many people, what they do is they don't allow themselves to dream and take risks. I think so many people and all different walks of life just stay in one spot and don't let themselves think. I would love your take on why you think that people do that. And then I want to kind of, adjust to why you also kind of did that. But why do you think I have my philosophy on why people don't do it, but I would love to kind of get your take on that.
I've just always had just an interest in different cultures and putting myself in uncomfortable positions and getting out there as much as possible. And I kind of, one example I always have is me moving out to California to start this job. We started as a failed juice company that evolved into a frozen food brand. And at that time, it was me and my girlfriend being those weirdos in Whole Foods, pouring juice samples, trying to get by 1 or 2 bottles of juice. And I was 28, 29 at the time. And I think if we were trying to do that in New York, I would have been so embarrassed. If I ever ran into somebody I knew, they'd be Casano, what are you doing at 20? When all my peers, all their careers are just starting to take off. And I'm this guy trying to sell a bottle of juice at Whole Foods. Mm-hmm. And so that just allowed us to be free. And I think there's also just a huge, I grew up in the Northeast. I love New York. I never thought I'd live in California. But now I'm here 15 years, and there's pros and cons of both. But my culture, my circle of friends, it was just on the East Coast, what bank do you work for? Whereas in California, it's what the hell do you do? And everybody has these companies of 20, 30 people that are very niche and most of them are successful. And it's amazing to step out into another kind of culture and see how entrepreneurism is grown. But, on the back end of that is California is a very punishing state for entrepreneurs as well. Culturally, it's great. Business wise, it's a kick in the nuts.
Right. And I think what you said is the fear, right? It's the fear and the judgment that I think so many people don't allow themselves to step out of their comfort zone and do it. But the more people can do, they can create things. Think about how many people that you're helping in all different countries, but also educating about the soil. If you think about that, that's why all of us take you know, whether you take multivitamins, because we're all missing something in the soil. And it's because things are stripped, as you said. And it's so important. You think you're eating healthy because that's what we're told. Oh, you're eating right. And I mean, listen, I was one in the beginning, you know, my friends would laugh. They'd be like, why? And I'm like, organic because it's healthier. And, you know, I jumped on that wagon. And
it is. I'm not trashing organic. It's just organic has gotten so big. Guardrails have kind of like come off a little bit, and you can have organic chemical free, which is way better than the conventional, but it can be lacking nutrients.
And that's the important part. And I think there's so much that's lacking nutrients and so many different things, especially as everything is getting bigger. So the fact that you kind of stepped out and did that. And I remember, I'm going to go back to the Whole Foods things, because when we were in Connecticut, I loved, like, my kids and I, like, Whole Foods is one of our favorite places. We would go, I'd be so happy. And I don't even like shopping and doing any of that stuff, but I would love to go and learn what was out there and what the new kind of foods or snacks or different thoughts were. And so I remember when you first were doing it, I was like, oh my God, that's so exciting. I know exactly what he's doing. But as you just said, painting the picture, like, you're stepping out of a very big comfort zone. You're stepping out of, you know, your world was a lot of people that were finance, very successful in business. You know, you went to Villanova. You know, there's expectations when you live a certain life. Okay, this is what you're going to do. And I remember just being like, I love that Chuck's doing that. I think it's so incredible and so ballsy, but so needed. And it didn't surprise me, because just knowing, you know, your family in general, like, I think your parents raised you guys to be really independent and independent thinkers. And I think that, you know, that's a beautiful thing about them. But take us through a little bit with the partnership of you and your partner. And then also, you know, when Lauren kind of, as you guys started having your family. So, like, as the company grew, as you started learning this, how did that work? I would love people just to kind of hear, because so many people have ideas, but they don't know that, like you said, you started a business plan and it went from there. You found a partner that, you know, went from there. But, like, when you're in it and things start growing, the messy parts and, like, figuring it out, how do you guys handle that?
So I was so scrappy in the beginning, right? Like, I wrote a business plan, and then I would leverage, like, I was still in New York writing the business plan. So I tapped the entrepreneur department at Columbia University to help me with the financial model. And there was a whole entrepreneur club that wanted to hop on. And we ended up, they had their own funds. So they're like, hey, we have funding to go to Nicaragua. So I find myself in Nicaragua with 8 Columbia students helping get it off the ground, and package design. I went out to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology, because they have a wonderful package design school. And I was like, hey, this is what I'm working on. And so I had I think I gave away $500 to a winner, and I had 20 different package designs from all these different students just because I had $0. And then I'd been kind of chatting with my cousin and her husband about this project, and he was giving me some advice. He was a little younger than me, but they were actually living in San Diego. And so when I got funded, I kept talking to him. I was finally had somebody to hire. He was my first hire. Lauren was working, my girlfriend, now wife, was working kind of pro bono and hustling with us and helping out as much. But it was pretty much the 3 of us for the first year or 2. And we got this stupid juice authorized in Whole Foods. And we would drive out to each region. For some reason, we're in San Diego. The first region that launched us with was Colorado. So the 3 of us packed up a car and drove to Colorado, and you had to, it's called demoing. And that's when you're in the aisles, pouring all the juice and getting feedback. And we did that, we were sleeping in parking lots, the 3 of us, in the same room. We were just doing everything possible to get this off the ground. And that hustle worked because we sold so much, just through our demos that Northern California region called, and we got launched in NorCal. So then we drive to NorCal, and we hustled. My wife and I and Ben, we demoed 300 stores in the beginning to get rid of all this juice. And it was all over the country. It was super fun and this super grind. And then, I was lucky enough that as we grew, when Lauren and I got married, the day we got married, she stopped working for the company and went back into fashion. And so that was the hustle. That was the grind. And I'm very lucky that, the first, Ben has been with me 15 years later. And so we both are bring totally different elements to this business. We like to say that, the head and the heart. he's the head and I'm the heart. And so like, it just works really well. And I think, like, I don't, not that I don't understand, but like, I really respect, or just being an entrepreneur on your own and not having a co-founder or a partner like that, to me just seems twice as hard as everything that we've done, because it's not even like the work. It's like the talking through the challenges and celebrating the wins. Like you got to have somebody by your side who understands everything that you've gone through to get to this point. Like I never thought this company would last more than a year. And like, here we are like 15 years later, and it continues to evolve. We're 30 people in an office in San Diego. And, we've got just incredible amount of humans working on this. And like, I'm like, we can't fail. Like we've got too many smart people on this project that like care so much. Like, and so that's kind of where the hustle and the grind and the up and downs come from. And we have seen it. We have seen it all. Like nobody in business school teaches you about a political coup d'etat in Nicaragua that's stopping shipments for 2 weeks, and like your biggest customers looking at it, and they're like, we have been through it all.
And so I was just going to ask you, like, what, and I recall one story, and I know that there's thousands, because it's probably like the one story. And you'll laugh when I remind, when your Sprinter van got stolen, and and you had like,
well, I have two businesses. That's my natural, we have a natural food distribution company. And that was one of the Sprinter vans, one guy was making a delivery to Whole Foods, and like some transient jumped in the car, and really quickly, all of a sudden I get a call from the police like, hey, we're tracking your van right now. I'm like, what van are you talking about? Like, we've got like 15 of them. And like, fast forward, my VP of accounting, like the guy left his personal phone in there so we could track it on Google. And we're like, all of a sudden I'm on the phone with like a helicopter in LA, and they're chasing this guy down the 101 freeway. It ends up on the news, and this guy's running over spike strips in my car. And I'm like, just stop the van. Like, oh my God. Like,
right.
That's one. But yeah, I think on the Nicaragua, or the dragon fruit, the Pitaya Foods side, there was a huge political uprising right in the middle of our harvest in 2018 down in Nicaragua that, the business is so secondary to like the suffering that was going on in the country. Like the business, like there's no comparison, and you're like, what is going on? And then, we're still dealing with a political situation that we've been able to, fly under the radar and continue to operate business, because we are bringing employment down there. But it's not the same Nicaragua that we started this program in.
Right. And do you find are there times where you get nervous? Like, I mean, are these countries, do they have open arms, or is it like you have to jump through a lot of hoops and be creative, or is there like a streamlined pathway? They
all operate business like differently, right? Mm-hmm. It's just culturally. I've never had any super sketchy situations where I thought my life was at stake, and I've been deep in the farms, deep in the jungles, and I've just never felt that. I'm not walking around the cities late at night by myself. But every country really has its own culture and challenge, and some cultures are just way harder to work with. But like I won't get into those, but on the other end, like Vietnam is like, it's an incredible place to do business. Like you go there and you have lunch at a restaurant, and you're like, oh, these are our package designs that we work for. And like some guy runs away on a moped, comes back 5 minutes later. He's like this, like with all, like 50 different samples of like exactly, you're like, where did you come from? You're like, and we're like, we'll go into production tomorrow. We're like, what? Like this,
that's amazing.
Things happen like so quick over there. And some countries, it's like pulling teeth to just get a response.
Right. Right. So I want you now to take us into, because I know I feel like 2-3 months, there's been another spike and jump in your company. And you've gone into other distributions, other stores. Take us through how that came. And was that always in the plan, or was it just kind of like happenstance?
So for the first 9 years of the company, like we were just selling dragon fruit. And then in 2019 where like we had like thousands of customers, but we were selling one thing, and we're like, we don't need more customers. We got to sell more things to them. That's so we developed all these supply chains and starting bringing in like passion fruit and coconut and jackfruit and all these other fruits that nobody else was doing. And this was a great story. So we do a whole new package design, whole new rebrand. We go to the Whole Foods buyer in October of 2019 with like our hearts on the table. Like, what do you think? And the woman was like, oh my God, I love this. I want to cut this in ahead of the reset. And that's like a huge deal. Like all supermarkets reset their frozen fruit styles like 2 weeks every year. She's like, I'm not waiting for that. This has got to go in right now. And we're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so we like all this fruit went into Whole Foods in like January of 2020. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, the pandemic hits. And if you remember, like, so all of our product, we just went through this whole new launch. At this time, like 60% of our business is all juice bars and 40% is like retail supermarket. And when the pandemic hit, if you remember, like everybody just went to grocery stores and bought every single thing on the shelves. Like it was like, so everything that we had at Whole Foods ended up in somebody's freezer. And so now like everyone's locked in at home. They couldn't go anywhere and they're looking for something like quick, easy and healthy to eat. And they're like, oh, what was this like Pitaya Foods that I bought at Whole Foods? Let me try it now. And so we didn't realize it at the time. It was like the best sampling program you could ever imagine in your life. You had like this captive audience and like you got it into their blender eventually. And so like I thought I was like laying off half my staff. And then like I'm just like holding steady. And then we start seeing these like retail sales like just start to like really crank up during the pandemic. And we're like, oh my God, this is like all of our juice bar sales like went to zero. And like all the retail sales started picking up. We just kind of weathered through that. And thankfully, like our food service sales to healthy juice bars and cafes, those are the first ones to come back online. So like that started to recover quickly. And now we had like this whole portfolio of fruits cranking through everyone's like blenders at home. And it was like, and then like Costco came calling and Walmart came calling. And so like it was a huge roller coaster through 2021, 22, 23. And now we're just we reached that point where we need to like evolve from like, we were mostly doing core fruits, like frozen exotic fruits. And now we're trying to evolve into like this frozen fruit brand. We just launched we're launching the whole new line of like protein frozen smoothie bowls at Walmart in September. We launched like these fun swirl bowls, at Target nationally, before the summer. And that was just like inspiration from the juice bars. Like when you get an acai bowl and there's swirling it with Nutella and stuff like that. So we try to bring that to the shelves. And so we want to become this frozen food brand because I want to be like the Dole and like Goya of tomorrow. Because when you look at customer data of these brands, like their customers are literally dying. They're literally like 60 to 70 years old. And so retailers love us because we bring this whole new like customer of the triple M, like the millennial mom with money. And so we're evolving there. It's not easy. Definitely some growing pains from trying to do all this innovation in the last 2 years, but we're making it happen and got some huge launches coming up in 2026 already.
Oh, that's amazing. So definitely you guys follow and see. So what do you see, especially being in California, I feel like trends, in the health. So I want to take it to just like overall, like we were laughing about the weighted vest, the mouth tape, all of these different peptides, all of these things that were, especially I know in women going through whatever I'm going through, menopause, perimenopause, whatever they want to fucking call it, the change as I'm getting there, there are all these things they're telling you, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And sometimes it's really overwhelming because it's like, what do you listen to? And what, I tend to listen to my body and really be like, wait a second. But I know there's a lot of people that don't. They jump on a trend and it's like, run. I always feel like I'm always at the end of a trend. Like, wait, maybe I'll try it now. Like, maybe this will be interesting. What are you seeing in like, especially the food industry, some trends that are happening or being talked about or sticking? If you can share a little bit of that.
Protein is just king right now. Yeah. Like everything, like we're us included launching these protein balls. Like protein is proliferating every single aisle.
Yeah.
Americans apparently can't get enough protein.
Yeah.
So, and literally like we had one frozen smoothie bowl and it said like recover in the middle of it. And it said like protein on the top corner. We switched that to just scream protein and put like recover in the middle, and sales like doubled overnight. Like It was wild. So it really resonates with customers. Obviously the Ozempic GLP-1 is insane right now. It's just getting easier and easier. Everybody's on it. And so how do the diets adapt to that? We're fortunate that we're selling real whole fruits and veggies. So like we're a great option. Smoothies are a great option for people who are on Ozempic and just looking for getting as many nutrients as possible without needing to be full. And so that is like radically changing the landscape of the grocery right now, which, some people are winning and some people are losing. And the people that are losing are like the salty snacks. Like the Ozempic user is not crushing a bag of potato chips anymore. They're trying to get something that can have, like people are starting to understand what empty calories are about, right? And so every calorie counts when you're on Ozempic. And like, I think it's going to it's prolonging life. Like these people who are on it right now are who need it.
Right. Who need it. Exactly. Yeah.
Like Serena Williams just came out as a huge proponent of GLP-1 last week. And you look at her, she's an incredible athlete. She works out 5 times a week. And she's like, I could never lose the weight. Like she's like, I don't feel like I'm cheating. I feel like I need this help. And
right.
She's not lazy. You can't call Serena Williams.
No, right. There's some people that their bodies just don't metabolize the same. And this is a big game changer for them. Yeah.
So that is like, and so when you have Serena stepping out, like it just takes down that stigma for so many people. And like, I just don't think you're going to see it more and more. It's going to get easier and easier. You're going to probably have like Ozempic smoothies in the next like 2-3 years.
Well, I mean, some people talk about even like, I know there's doctors, especially in the world where I am now, that talk about microdosing it. And, I'm not familiar with the whole thing, but learning about it, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. I see it's about the sugar levels and all these different things. It is a very interesting thing. And also a lot of people not drinking alcohol anymore. I mean, like I know I stopped 2 years ago. That was huge for me. I didn't realize like how much that actually changed my body, but I was like, oh, this is incredible. But then you think about the sugar, but there's so many people that are like, I just feel shit. Like I was so tired of the hangover. I was so tired of also going through the change. Alcohol kind of was like, okay, 'cause all or nothing here. Can't just have 1 or 2, I have to have 1 and then 15. And you can't do that when you're at certain ages. So I think it's like so important, but the fact that you guys are really, and I love that you're bringing it down to like the farming again. It's about the soil and what's in the soil and that you found the spaces that you can do it without, I'm sure, I mean, have you guys thought about ever in the United States? Is it like,
Regen Farm is definitely happening in the U.S. Thank God.
Right.
I forget the name, but the Woody Harrelson thing on Netflix. It is such a good. It's a must watch for Regenerative.
Okay, I gotta go look. Okay.
I'm bummed that I'm missing the names escaping me. Maybe you can like put it in the link, but
yeah,
it is so good, and you can like just see the difference. And it's like a crash course on it, and I felt so bad. This thing like launched at the same time as like Tiger King during the pandemic, so nobody saw it. Like it was just I want to see Tiger King. Like I don't care about the planet, which is like I get it. And it is really so good, and it shows the impact that it's happening here in the U.S. And so like it's as us being able to do that in the U.S. If that's your question, yes. But a lot of the fruit that we source, you just can't grow.
Can't do it. You can't grow it here. Yeah. All right. Well, I love that. Well, I'm so excited that I got to see you across from here. I got to see you now twice this summer. One being on here and one or actually like 3 times this summer, a couple times in person. So tell everyone, so you have some things that are launching exciting. So they should just follow you on LinkedIn and then also on Instagram. Is there any other place that, you said Target, Whole Foods, definitely. Go ahead.
We could be found at every major grocer, from Walmart to Publix to Whole Foods, Sprouts. Those are some of the powerhouses. We've got a huge launch coming up with Costco in the beginning of the year. We're doing like this immunity blend of really good passion fruit, dragon fruit, and mango. It's in a 3-pound bag. It's like you want that in your freezer all the time.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a ton of vitamin C for when you're coming out of, you want to get healthy after the holidays is something to look forward to. And what else? And the protein bowls launching national at Walmart in September, October. Really excited about that launch as well.
Oh, great. And I have to say, so what my kids will sometimes just even eat the cubes just as like a snack.
Yes. That's all my kids, like my daughter and son go to bed with a huge bowl of frozen fruit.
Yeah.
And I just told my wife, let me fill it. Do not put anything else in it, and they will eat it, and they crush it.
And that's the thing. I like frozen fruit for me has always been a snack. I've always done it. I used to do like coconut milk over frozen cherries. I've always been like because of sugar, like I love sweets, and then not having like the crash and just feeling shit of like having a bag of gummies, worms that I used to have, back in my 20s and as a kid. So that's one of the things. My kids also definitely love it in smoothies, but I think the big thing is they just love like popping it and like frozen grapes. Like, I have friends that are like, oh my God, you used to do, I used to live on frozen grapes. Like that was like even when in high school, my mom would be like, what are you doing? I love frozen grapes. Like there's something very satisfying about frozen sweet, whatever it is.
And like even little kids teething, it's super good for that. Well, the last plug is our regenerative fruits, blueberries, strawberries, and mangoes are all at Whole Foods. And those are like incredible for snacking. And I know we talked about, the regen farming, protecting the soil and having these microorganisms for your gut health. But above all, they taste so much better than regular conventional organic fruits. Like it's grown out of real soil and it's like candy. And it's like, you're not going to get fat or sick eating too much frozen fruit.
No, absolutely not. And again, as you said, the taste thing, that is so important because how many times have you gotten, especially berries, and I'm like eating it and I know it's organic, so I know whatever, but I'm like, there's literally no taste.
Yeah, totally.
Like none. And it's like
grown in like sand.
Right.
Grown sand.
Right. So you can see why it has no taste. All right. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for joining Don't Die Curious.
Super
you guys.
That we finally pulled this off.
I know, right? So it was 5 seasons of your next stop, and this is where you're supposed to be because of this. So this is like, I love the evolution of it all. I love the evolution of what you're doing. It's fun to watch. So you guys definitely go check it out and like, rate, review, and share. And we'll see you for another episode of Don't Die Curious. Thank you for listening to Don't Die Curious. If this episode sparked a question, leave a review and share it with a friend. You want to connect or suggest a topic? Just look me up. I am Juliet Hahn on Instagram and LinkedIn. Until next time, stay curious and keep asking those questions. You don't know where it's going to lead you.